flood disaster in Keebi State. So Keebi State caucus of the House of Representatives identify with government and people of Keebi State over the recent flood disaster. We, the Keebi State caucus of the House of Representatives, commensurate with government and people of Keebi State over the flood disaster that ravaged the entire state, being the focal point of the federal government policy for rice production in the country. The disaster could not have come at a worse time for our farmers, who hitherto look forward to a bumper harvest this year to reduce the rising cost of food items. It is a major setback to the federal government effort to boost local rice production as part of measures to end rice importation. The flood is a serious setback towards addressing food security in the country. The government therefore needs to address the shortfall of the food supply chain to reduce the hardship and the cost of food items in the market, and also address the severe environmental degradation caused by the flood. This may include adequate and early preparation for dry season farming and the reconstructions of major infrastructure affected in the state. The members of this caucus commend Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, and the Executive Governor of Keebi State, Senator His Excellency, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, for the prompt response to reduce the hardship caused by the flood. The estimated cost of the disaster is over 10 billion naira across the state. We call on the federal government as a matter of urgency to send relief materials to alleviate the suffering of the people in the state. Early preparation for dry season farming should commence in earnest, with provisions of seedlings, fertilizer, and other inputs to be made available to the farmers in good time. Finally, we call on the government to commission a study with the aim of prevailing a lasting solution to the perennial flood disaster in the state. It is our pleasure to brief the press on this our position, so that the hardship being experienced by our people across the state will be reduced. All the 8 members of the House of Representatives endorse this our position, and they are solidly behind this. So it's our pleasure to communicate with the members of the press. Thank you.
Keebi, I'm just 42 years old, but I have never seen this in Keebi. And all my life has stayed in Keebi. This is almost 1 out of almost 50 years. When you see from the valley of Argungu down to close to Benin Republic, all that area is submerged by flooding. This is quite different. That's why we are trying to call the federal government to commission a study on this. What caused this problem? What is the problem? If this is climate change, what can we do about it? Buhari is a president for everybody. And he, among other things, his policy on rice production. This issue centers on rice production. His major policy on rice production that warrant him to close border, to force farmers, especially in Keebi and other part of the country, to produce rice,
For the country?
to avoid importation of rice. This is centered. That's why I'm bringing up for the issue of the federal government should come in because of the agitation we have and the policy of the federal government.
The issue that brought us here is the situation in our own state.
The current
Now the transportation and communication between various groups. It's not even possible now. This morning, His Excellency the Governor of the state is in my local government because the bridge connecting more than two-thirds.
North and south of the country.
North and south of the country at Jega is about to collapse.
The one leading to Benin Republic.
Yes, and it leads, it's the major link. It connects north and south of this country.
Benin Republic.
Benin Republic
Has already collapsed.
and our neighbors. You see? So that arrangement we are talking about between the Keebi State government and Lagos State,
It's not even the matter.
it's not the issue here, but it's part, rice is the focal issue there. So that's the issue, that's the only thing we can tell you now. Yes. It is the entire state is involved. And you can imagine when over 10 billion is lost, most of their livelihood is lost. So there is serious concern. This is what the members are telling the whole world. And we are going to stage and take part on what we believe